Martin Luther King, Jr., was a monumental figure in American history whose leadership and advocacy for civil rights left an indelible mark on the nation. Born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, King was the second child of Reverend Martin Luther King, Sr., and Alberta Williams King. From a young age, he was deeply influenced by his family's strong faith and commitment to social justice. Early life and education. King grew up in the segregated South, where racial discrimination was a harsh reality. Despite these challenges, his family provided a nurturing environment that emphasized education and faith. He attended Booker T. Washington High School and was a precocious student, skipping 2 grades and entering Morehouse College at the age of 15. At Morehouse, King was mentored by President Benjamin E. Mays, an outspoken advocate for racial equality. This mentorship solidified King's commitment to fighting injustice. After graduating from Morehouse in 1948 with a degree in sociology, King continued his education at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he earned a Bachelor of Divinity degree. He later pursued doctoral studies in systematic theology at Boston University, earning his Ph.D. in 1955. It was during his time in Boston that King met and married Coretta Scott, who would become a steadfast partner in his activism. The Montgomery Bus Boycott. King's rise to prominence began in 1955 with the Montgomery Bus Boycott. Sparked by Rosa Parks' arrest for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger, the boycott was a powerful act of resistance against segregation. King, then a young pastor at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, was chosen to lead the Montgomery Improvement Association, MIA, which organized the boycott. For 381 days, African Americans in Montgomery refused to ride the city buses, despite facing violence, arrests, and economic hardship. King's eloquent speeches and steadfast leadership inspired thousands. The boycott ultimately succeeded when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. This victory propelled King into the national spotlight and established him as a prominent leader of the civil rights movement. Founding the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, in 1957, King and other civil rights leaders founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, to coordinate nonviolent resistance to racial segregation and injustice. As president of the SCLC, King traveled extensively, delivering speeches and organizing protests. His philosophy of nonviolent resistance, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and rooted in Christian teachings, became the cornerstone of the movement. The Birmingham Campaign and Letter from Birmingham Jail. One of King's most significant campaigns took place in Birmingham, Alabama, in 1963. Birmingham was known for its brutal enforcement of segregation laws. King and the SCLC organized a series of nonviolent demonstrations to challenge these injustices. The campaign faced fierce opposition. Protesters were met with police dogs, fire hoses, and mass arrests. During his imprisonment, King penned the Letter from Birmingham Jail, a powerful defense of civil disobedience and nonviolent protest. Addressed to local clergy who had criticized the demonstrations, the letter articulated the moral urgency of the civil rights struggle. It remains one of King's most influential writings. The March on Washington and I Have a Dream. The culmination of King's efforts came on August 28, 1963, with the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. More than 250,000 people gathered at the Lincoln Memorial in a historic demonstration for civil rights. It was here that King delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech, envisioning a future where people would not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their character. The speech galvanized the nation and remains a defining moment in American history. The Civil Rights Act and the Nobel Peace Prize. King's advocacy played a pivotal role in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation in public places and prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. That same year, King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, becoming the youngest recipient at the time. He donated the prize money to further the civil rights movement. The Selma Campaign and the Voting Rights Act. In 1965, King led the Selma to Montgomery marches to demand voting rights for African Americans. The marches were met with violent resistance, particularly on Bloody Sunday, when peaceful protesters were brutally attacked by law enforcement on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The national outrage that followed these events spurred the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark piece of legislation that sought to eliminate barriers to voting. Expanding the movement in the later years of his life, King broadened his focus to address issues such as poverty, economic inequality, and opposition to the Vietnam War. He launched the Poor People's Campaign in 1968 to advocate for economic justice for all Americans, emphasizing that racial equality was intertwined with economic equity. Assassination and legacy. On April 4, 1968, King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, where he had gone to support striking sanitation workers. His death sent shockwaves across the nation and the world, but his vision and message endured. Today, King's legacy is celebrated annually on Martin Luther King, Jr. Day, a federal holiday honoring his contributions to the fight for justice and equality. King's unwavering commitment to nonviolence and his belief in the power of love and justice continue to inspire movements for social change around the globe. His life was a testament to the enduring struggle for human dignity and the belief that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.